Hi, my name is Tanisha Kaiser and welcome to my True Crime YouTube video. Today we are talking about the tragic case of Uyinene Mrwetyana. If you know her name and you know this case, you know that this really shook South Africa. It really sparked an uprising in South Africa amongst the general South African community, I want to say. People protested, and I think this case specifically shook me at the time because of where the murder took place. And I remember it had a deep and long-lasting impact on me. And I remember when I heard about the case of what happened to Uyinene, I felt a deep sense of hopelessness for myself and the women and children in South Africa. But before we get into what happened after this case or during this case, let's talk a little bit about Uyinene, her upbringing, and who she was. Uyinene was born on the 29th of April in the year 2000 to her parents, Noma and Philip. She grew up in the Eastern Cape in East London. Her mother said that she was a very inquisitive, happy, and bubbly child. At age 4, she said she was tired of being at home alone and wanted to go to school. And this is when she started preschool. She attended Hudson Park Primary School, where friends described her as warm, friendly, with an infectious smile. She then went on to attend Kingswood College, where she matriculated, and at age 19, she began her BA in Media Studies at the University of Cape Town in 2019. Later that year, on the 8th of August in 2019, Uyinene went to the Claridge, I'm not sure if it's Claridge or Claridge post office in Claremont, where she went to go inquire about a package because she had ordered something online. She arrived at the post office and the post office worker, Luyanda Botha, informed her that her package wasn't ready yet, but he would contact her as soon as it was. A couple weeks later, Luyanda contacted Uyinene and told her her package was ready. On the 24th of August, Uyinene had a phone call with her mother at around 12 p.m. They discussed her upcoming trip to Cape Town, where she would be spending her birthday, and Uyinene was very excited, sharing plans that she had made for her mother, going to wine tastings and spoiling her mother for her birthday. Her mother was very excited about this. After their phone call, Uyinene headed to the post office to collect her package. This was around 1 p.m. By 1 p.m., the post office was actually already closed, and Luyanda's colleague had left, leaving him alone in the post office. When Uyinene arrived, he unlocked for her, led her in, and locked the door right behind her. When Uyinene went to pay for her package, Luyanda started making sexual advances towards her. Luyanda himself said she didn't respond and she just looked scared. He began touching her, violating her, sexually assaulting her, and when she fought back, he overpowered her and raped her twice. Luyanda said she fought him while he violated her. She even got away at one point and got to the front door, but he caught up with her and knocked her to the ground. He then dragged her to the safe and locked her in. Uyinene screamed for her life in that safe. He then began choking her, and she fought back, kicking him. Then he took a 2-kilogram weight used to weigh packages at the post office and bludgeoned Uyinene to death. After he had murdered her, he locked up the post office and went to a nearby place to have some drinks. After he had finished drinking, he went back to the post office where he covered Uyinene's body with cushions, a jersey, and a blanket. He locked the safe, locked up the post office, and left her body in there that evening. That same night, her father tried to contact her, but her phone was off. They didn't panic though. They just thought, she's probably busy. We'll try again tomorrow. Luyanda returned to the post office early that next morning to clean up the crime scene. As Luyanda was cleaning up Uyinene's blood, her father was still trying to contact her, and when he called that morning, her phone was still off. He tried later that day again, and this is when the family started to get a bit worried. He then contacted his son, Isona, who lived near Uyinene's residence at Uyinene lived in Roscommon and he lived nearby. So he contacted his son. He's like, hey, can you just go and check on her, make sure everything is okay? Isona then spoke to Uyinene's friends and they said they were also getting worried because they also hadn't heard from her. And it was unlike her to just go missing for, at this stage, it's at least more than 12 hours. This was very unlike Uyinene. Luyanda at this time is still at the post office and waited until dark. He then goes to the security guard and asks if he can park his car in front of the post office. With his car parked in front of the post office, he goes inside, puts Uyinene's body in a large postal mail bag and places her body in the car. He then drives to Linguletu West in Khayelitsha, where he dumps Uyinene's body in a shallow hole. He then drives to a petrol station, buys petrol, and returns to her body, where he pours petrol all over her body and set her alight to get rid of any evidence. He then took his car to get cleaned to also ensure that there was no trace of Uyinene in his car. That same Sunday evening is when Isona and his parents decided that he should go to the police, which he did. He went down to the police station and he just said, Uyinene has disappeared. Police immediately began the investigation. That Monday morning, Uyinene's mother flew to Cape Town. When she arrived, she went straight to Uyinene's residence where police showed up to speak with her. A detail that I found quite eerie in this case. They knew the last place that Uyinene was seen alive was the post office. So her mother decided to go to the post office. When she showed up, she asked for the person that helped Uyinene. Luyanda Botha was there and said he was the last person to help her. Uyinene's mother didn't know it at the time, but she was sitting face to face with the man who raped and murdered her daughter. She was innocently asking him questions, trusting that he would tell her the truth, asking what time she left the post office and which direction she went in. On that same Monday, a body was found by a police officer on his routine patrol through Khayelitsha. The family was called in and unfortunately DNA testing confirmed that this was Uyinene's body. The family was of course devastated and heartbroken because they really hoped and believed that they would still find Uyinene alive. In the police investigation, which I must say went very quickly, I do believe it was because of the pressure at the time. During that time that Uyinene went missing, like that following Monday, the hashtag #FindNene came up all over social media. I remember seeing it myself. And I think that the pressure from the public really made the police work as fast as possible. And in the investigation, they found that the last place Uyinene was seen alive was the post office, and they noticed that she never left. And this quickly led to the arrest of Luyanda Botha. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Luyanda Botha. Unfortunately, there's not much public information about him other than he's a father of two and a possible estranged wife. That's not very clear. What we also do know is that in 1999 he served jail time for a robbery conviction. It was also noted that allegedly the post office or the vetting system for applicants, might not have been done correctly or at all. And if they had vetted him properly, this conviction would have come up, and he wouldn't have been able to work at the post office in the first place, which is really upsetting if true. If true, because this is alleged. I couldn't get like a clear, definite answer on this, but if that is the case, it just shows what negligence can do. If they had vetted him properly and found that he had a criminal record, he wouldn't even have been working at the post office in the first place. Now, I'm not saying that he wouldn't have assaulted or hurt someone else, because sexual predators really just have one victim, right? But we'll get into that. I mean, he probably would have offended at some point in his life, but maybe he would have been caught. Maybe he wouldn't have had the chance to do this. We also know that Luyanda was accused of attempted rape in 2014 by a nursing student in Athlone, Cape Town. The complainant alleged that Luyanda had entered the bathrooms at let's call it like a residence for nurses. He entered the female bathroom while she was showering. He pushed the bin next to the shower stall, climbed on top, and spied over. And he was watching her. When she saw him, she screamed and then fought him off. And as she was fighting him, he got tired and he left. Luyanda admitted to being in the bathroom, but he said he was not there to rape her. He said he was under deep emotional distress because of the relationship that he was in at the time with his girlfriend, which she did confirm, the girlfriend. He said he thought that his girlfriend was cheating on him, and that's why he was in the bathroom. He was looking for her. Now, what I found, yes, that's interesting on its own. It's like, had this been looked at, concluded earlier, he might not have been in that post office. That's what a lot of people say. But this is the second thing that I find interesting. This case happened in 2014 and was postponed. And only this year, 2025, this case was concluded. And he was found not guilty or acquitted because of a lack of evidence. So a lot of people at that time of Uyinene's case, when they found out that he had this charge against him, an attempted rape charge, they were upset because why wasn't he locked up? Why hasn't this case been concluded? This could have been prevented, is what people were saying. But now we know in 2025, 11 years later, are you crazy? 11 years later, we know, okay, the judge ruled that it wasn't possible or there was a lack of evidence, so he could not have attempted to rape her. In my opinion, I always believe the woman. Why would she make this up? It doesn't make sense to me. Why would she say that he entered the bathroom? Why would he just start fighting her? It doesn't really make sense. So I understand there being a lack of evidence, but at the same time, I believe woman. It's not like she had some sort of vendetta against him. It's not like she knew him. So why would she lie? Also, just they mentioned that the trial was only concluded this year because of postponements and backlogs and blah 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 blah. South Africa, it's infuriating, because if things were just taken care of as quickly as possible, done efficiently, literal lives would be saved. And perhaps not in this case, but there are cases where things could be prevented if I want to be careful here, but if things were done efficiently, in a timely manner, properly, less corruption, could save lives. Luyanda was arrested shortly after the video footage and appeared in court, where he was charged with 2 counts of rape, 1 count of murder, and defeating the ends of justice. During his questioning by police, he admitted to raping and murdering Uyinene and pointed out where he attempted to bury her body. Professor Gerard Labuschagne, who is an investigative and forensic psychologist, shared his professional thoughts on the case and Luyanda's thinking. He says that this must have been all premeditated. If Luyanda had planned to rape Uyinene, he must have also planned her murder, because if he had planned to rape her, which I personally believe he did, I believe that this was all planned out, he couldn't just let her go after. He would have to murder her, because she would be able to point him out. She knew who he was and she knew where he worked. So Professor Labuschagne is basically saying that this was premeditated. He also mentioned that it is unlikely that this is his first sexual offense. It is very rare for a sexual predator to do something of this magnitude. They usually start small and it's a build-up over time. And you can see it with many different sexual predators and, well, eventually sexually motivated murderers. It doesn't just start with one big thing. It's a build-up over time. And they take chances, and once they get away with it, they feel confident, and then they can move on to the next thing and the next thing. And if he was charged, or if he, sorry, that's not the right word, if he was found guilty, prosecuted, is that the right word? If he was found guilty in that 2014 case of attempted rape, that would have made sense in this case, right? And because of what Professor Labuschagne is saying, it makes me believe even more that he did attempt to rape that woman. You know, because as he says, like, these things don't just come out of nowhere one day where somebody rapes and murders somebody. That's big. That's almost like the end of it. And then they go on to do it again and again and again. But you don't just start with that, which I find really interesting. But who knows, there might be other victims before Uyinene, which is something that is so troubling. But we live in South Africa where you go to the police, you file a case, and it takes years before you see any justice, or you see it go to trial, or just because of the backlogs, the blah, 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 blah. But anyway, basically what Professor Labuschagne was saying was that this was premeditated, and he definitely, I can't say for what, I can't speak for Professor Labuschagne, but from what I conclude from what he said is that if he had not been caught this time, he would have gone on to do this again and again and again. The case eventually went to the High Court, where Luyanda was found guilty on all charges and given 3 life sentences, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. I don't understand that. Like, if it's a life sentence, then why can they apply for parole after 25 years? That's not a life sentence. But if they get parole. So what Professor Labuschagne said was that after 25 years, if they do get parole, they live under certain like rules, like maybe they can't drink alcohol, they can't go to certain areas. I'm just making silly examples now. And if they do any of that, then they go back to prison to serve out the rest of the life sentence. But my question is, why even give them that chance? If they've murdered someone already, then why do they deserve the chance to get out of prison? And especially a sexual predator, who says that they won't do it again? I mean, from what we know, sexual predators, and they can't stop the urge. Maybe they can fight the urge. Maybe there are sexual predators that have that urge that don't act on it. I don't know. But what I do know is that rapists cannot be rehabilitated. It's a fact. I believe. I believe it's a fact. Also, what's scary is like, he's going to be 67 when he's eligible for parole. And that's not really that old. Like, if he takes care of himself, that's not really that old. What if he gets out? He can still be a danger to society, even if he's 67 years old. So to me, it just doesn't make sense as to why people can get out of jail after committing a heinous crime. He took someone's life away. And you're telling me after 25 years, he can go and do it again? Addressing Uyinene's family, at the Western Cape High Court, I'm just going to read this. Judge Hayat said, she fought bravely and courageously to ward off this gruesome attack on her. This was indeed a heinous and cruel act and crime. Though it may be cold comfort to you today, it is not without significance that she was a fighter and clearly had a fighting spirit for her life. She is and she will remain the hero and an iconic champion in the pursuit of reducing and ending the epidemic of gender-based violence. Indeed, the killing, violence, and abuse of women, our daughters, our sisters, mothers, wives, and baby girls has become a daily social ill in our country and across the globe. Uyinene's fighting spirit and her legacy will continue to give a voice to other women who suffer daily as victims. Ultimately, the court wishes you well in the healing of your grief, so that you are ultimately able to celebrate the life of Uyinene, the warmth and joy she brought. So this is what the judge said to her family after passing the sentence to or of Luyanda. When I first heard about this case, it knocked me off my feet. I was stunned and in shock. And I think the reason it hit me as hard as it did is because it happened in a post office. It's not one of the places that your parents warn you about. And yes, we do hear about women and children going missing or being murdered every single day. But the fact that this was in a post office was just, it was really hard to believe and accept. And it did. It did. It did give you the sense of hopelessness. Like you're not even safe in a post office. And I have this feeling all the time. Like I live in a safe estate. But if I go for a jog, I still am on the estate, secured place. I still have that thing in the back of my mind where I'm still a woman and any man can be a threat. Now, it's just not the stranger on the street, it's the stranger in the store, the stranger in the post office, the stranger that you jog past, it's the stranger in the gym, it's the stranger at the lobby of a hotel, it's the waiter. You just never know. And I think this really brought that to light. It's like, you are not safe anywhere as a woman in South Africa. And that was, I don't have a word for it, disturbing, heartbreaking, just a sad reality, eye-opening. And there are days we forget. You forget that you're a woman in South Africa. There are days where you feel safe and you feel comfortable, but there's always that moment where you're just like, oh,